What's up, everyone? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz, ready to break down the small little four-game slate we have tonight here for NBA. Joining me first, we got Will Priester, the Chief Justice. How you doing, Will?
I am good, my brother. Glad to come on, talk a little NBA. It's also basketball season in real life for me, so it's an exciting time of year. So definitely glad to hang out with you and get a TWT Saturday in.
Heck yes, we got a fun little weekend ahead of us. We got basketball tonight. We got some football tomorrow, Chief. We get to hang out all weekend. We're on Crunch Time together tomorrow. We're on Sunday Night Football together tomorrow. We're gonna have ourselves a good time. And joining us for today, like you said, a TWT weekend, it's Taylor Smith. How you doing, Taylor?
Pretty good. Nice little slate with a pretty big Q tag still waiting with Jokic in the last window, an hour later than the window. So hopefully we get it during the show. I don't know if we will. It could be a swappy kind of night if we don't.
Oh, we got Marcus Smart news. That's important.
Hopefully we could get the Jokic one before lock here, but like you said, if not, we got to be ready to swap. Thankfully enough, there is one other game at 8 o'clock with Milwaukee and the Lakers, and there are two really expensive players in that game. So I kind of feel like you can build both. Like how I handled this today is I'm playing 20 lineups. I'm building both as though Jokic is in and out. I'm playing the value as though Jokic is out. I'm trying to play a ton of Jamal Murray. I'm getting to a bunch of Jonas Valanciunas. But I'm also keeping Jokic in my pool and just making sure like the bench guys are separated from Jokic. And then if Jokic happens to be out, I plan to just switch all of that exposure, since I'll have multiple players I can swap around, playing a lot of Denver, to Luka, to Giannis, because that game starts at the same time. So at least we have that. We have some swappability that we can go with. But like you said, Taylor, not too much we can do right now until we get that Jokic news. So we're going to have to be waiting. If we do happen to get it within the next 15 minutes, there's no questions. We might get out of here a little bit early. But assuming we do not have the Jokic news, we will stay as long as we possibly can. If you're watching us on YouTube, watching us live, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's also a great time to get yourself some Combo Pro. First month, you can get it for $40 off. That's only $5 more than NFL. First month for $79.99. You get NFL, NBA, NHL, college football, PGA, MMA, all the sports. And also, you can improve your DFS game with some shot quality as well. If you're playing NBA DFS and still relying on box scores, you're already behind. Shot quality gives you the most predictive data in basketball, breaking down every shot to show what should have gone in, not just what did. Right now, you can grab a free 3-day trial just by heading to the link in the show description right down below, right there on YouTube. And after that, it renews monthly for $39.99. Don't play blind, play smarter with shot quality. Taylor, why don't you hit us with a little bit of a breakdown of what we're looking at tonight? Obviously, we can't fully know what we're doing until we get this Jokic news, but give us your overview before that.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of stars, like we talked about Jokic possibly. We have Luka and Giannis both on the second half of back-to-backs. We have SGA against Charlotte, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle. We have a lot to pay up for, and there's no value really. Like there is some value with Denver missing Christian Brown and Cameron Johnson, but it's not the most comfortable value. We have some value with Indiana, which looks even worse to me. Obviously the Denver stuff would be awesome. If Jokic is out, there's like Valanciunas, who becomes the smash play of the slate, and more usage to guys like Murray and Gordon and the other starters. But if Jokic is in, things get really tight. I would like to pay up for Jokic if I can, because if he's in, I'm assuming he's a full go. But we don't know. He's questionable with the wrist thing. So it's complicated. The value's shaky. The Indiana value, I think, is really particularly not good. But yeah, that's kind of what you're dealing with tonight.
I only have 15% Jokic as it stands in my current build, but I do have 30% Giannis and 30% Luka, and so I'm going to be trying to switch some of that Giannis and Luka into Jokic if we happen to get that news after lock. Chief, how are you handling this one? We have the biggest player on the slate list is questionable. Not a whole lot we can do at the moment. How do you plan on building today?
I know it's crazy because in our minds, the Jokic is kind of the linchpin because of the news. I still think there's a path to building. However, I think the biggest thing for me is, like, if you don't play Jonas Valanciunas if Jokic is out, you're probably dead. I think that's is that our agreement? Like, that would be my that's my if Jokic is out and you don't have JV, I mean, we're assuming he's going to play 20, 25 minutes and probably score north of 30 fantasy points. Like, in my head, that's what he's going to do at such a cheap price tag. But outside of that, for me, and maybe that helps Bruce Brown, maybe that helps a Peyton Watson, like, it could, but I think it will help Jonas Valanciunas. I actually think I'm okay outside of JV, which is my holdup. So, which is tied to Jokic, but that's kind of where I am. I think I can build everything up until that point. So for me, if Jokic is out, then I think you plug JV, and then you're deciding, do out of the big guys, is it Luka? Is it SGA? Like, who's our big spin if we decide to go that route? And then I agree with Taylor. The Indiana value is just all over the place. Like, it could be any of these guys. Too many unknowns. I did like Ben Shepherd to start the year. Boy, he just kept breaking my heart over and over. I had to hop on that train real fast. But I think I'll be building with not basing it as much on all the news, but just more so on the Jokic news. Hopefully that was clear enough. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really worried about Indiana. I'm not really worried about the other stuff. Tell me if Jokic is in or out so I can play Jonas Valanciunas and I can build with everybody else that I still like. That's basically what it comes to for me in a nutshell.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's start going position by position. We will hit FanDuel first. We will go DraftKings second. Although we may have time to just kind of touch on each of these games individually, but we'll maybe do that after position by position here, just because things will shift so drastically when we get to that Denver game anyways, and I kind of want to push that off as much as possible. So we'll start going on FanDuel. We'll start at the point guard. We'll go position by positions. If we have time, we'll go talk a little bit of game by game strategy. And then, of course, we will take your questions. We'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. We'll go to the live stream chat second. If that Jokic comes early, we will still stay as long as we have questions. If that Jokic news comes late, we'll make sure we are here right up until lock, a couple minutes after, give you guys a chance to get that news and know how to adjust. But Taylor, let's start at the point guard position on FanDuel. Who do you like today?
Yeah, so it kind of looks like a pay-up spot. FanDuel, there's not a lot of cheap stuff you're going to like. Jamal Murray, even with Jokic projected in, looks like an awesome play. 7,600 is cheap for him in any scenario. They do not have Brown or Cameron Johnson, Christian Brown, to be clear. So there is, in theory, a little more usage for him to go around. Very good value. Don't mind that game at all. Obviously, he gets better if Jokic is out as well. AJ Mitchell's kind of popping into a lot of FanDuel lineups. He's 5'9" over there. He's going to go back to the bench, I think, with Dort back, but he still had a role off the bench so far this season. He's kind of their six-man scoring guy. So he's a decent value. It's a really good spot for OKC against Charlotte. And if the game blows out, which looks fairly likely with Charlotte having played last night, I think AJ might benefit a little bit. So I'm okay with him. Quickly almost always pops as like a mid-range value. Toronto, they're in a good spot also against the horrible Indiana injury-riddled Pacers. So cool with that. Emhart on the other side, I think, is always a fine play, even though he's pushing 7K. DiVincenzo, if I end on it, is fine. I think SGA is a secondary stud on this slate, given the aforementioned blowout concern I have for that game. So I'm not really getting to him a lot. Feels kind of bad. And then Luka, if Jokic is out, I think becomes a bit more of a priority. Obviously, he's a great play in any scenario, but the optimals right now are kind of spitting out a more balanced build on FanDuel.
If you can only pick one, you're choosing between Giannis or Luka as your primary spend. Assuming you would get to one, which one of those two do you like better if Jokic is out?
I think it's Luka slightly. I just have a little bit of minutes concern with Giannis after playing, I think, 40 last night in overtime. Luka's also playing like 40 a night, but the Bucks have been kind of more interested in managing Giannis a little bit. So I'm a little bit more nervous
Luka
about
can
him.
play unlimited minutes. He doesn't get time.
Exactly. He's a warrior. So I think they're both great plays. I think on DraftKings, Giannis might get the edge, but on FanDuel, I think I slightly prefer Luka.
Chief, how about you? Before talking point guard, who do you got if you can only pick one, assuming Jokic is out, Giannis or Luka?
Luka for me.
All right. Who do you like at point guard today on FanDuel?
Yeah, well, I love FanDuel anyway, and so Taylor's kind of speaking my language with Jamal Murray. Probably slightly. Jamal Murray should probably be 8K on FanDuel, so I think he's just a touch under where he should be. So I really like him. I'm okay with Quickly. I think he's fine. I'm okay with Trey Man even against OKC. He's not really popular in projections, but I'm okay with it because of the opportunity. I'm actually still okay with SGA. SGA probably feels a little overpriced. And I'm with you, Taylor. I'm a Charlotte Hornets fan. I'm expecting OKC to run away with this thing. So I don't want you to think I don't think that, but it's one of those situations where if he gets to 65 fantasy points, as an example, he's still like right there in striking distance at 11-3. So that's really all it is. It's not like I still like Luka better because I think Luka has more upside on this slate. I just think SGA might score 30 points in his sleep in this game. And so anything else he does peripheral, I think, is just going to help him. At the bottom here, I really was, and then this is more of a gut call. So many bodies are down. They haven't really used them much, recently. And it's not a good play by any stretch of the imagination. You're saying, well, why are you even talking about it? But with all these guys out, do you think they could squeeze TJ McConnell into a few more minutes in this game? Like, do you just think like it's Rick Carlisle randomly rolls him out there for 25 and we get the 30-point TJ McConnell game? That's once again, let's just call that a feel it in the plums play. Folks, that's not a great call. Like, you don't need to be rolling him out of your cash lineup, but that's just, let's call it a gut play, which I know we don't. Gut is a hard word to throw around in the fantasy world when, we've got spreadsheets and statistics, but I think this is just one of those games where McConnell could sneak into 25, 30 minutes randomly and all of a sudden you need him to win a tournament.
I don't mind that
I like
one
that.
bit.
Yeah.
We've seen he's been back for 3 games so far, played 8 in the first one, 11 in the second one, 15 in the next. If we kind of keep on that track and he gets 19, 20, he can absolutely hit value for 19, 20 minutes. If they happen to be like, all right, we're good now, TJ, let's roll you out. And he plays 22, 23, 24, he could end up being an absolute smash play. So I like that call.
I think there's another one very similar in the same game who's a bit cheaper than TJ, so I kind of like it. It's Jamal Shed off the bench for Toronto.
Yeah,
I think
I get it.
He's been a very good per minute guy. His assist rate is through the roof. He overlapped a little bit with Quickly in the last game, which is pretty interesting for him. So I think Shed can easily pay off a sub 4K tag in a tournament build with upside for more. Maybe if the game gets out of hand and he gets a little bit of blowout run.
I like both of those calls quite a bit. I already had Shed in my pool. I did not have TJ McConnell, but I'm going to add him because I do like that call quite a bit. Chief, take us to shooting guard.
Yeah, shooting guard. Are we just talking FanDuel, TJ? I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so shooting guard on FanDuel. Obviously, you can still get Jamal Murray there. If I get to Nembhard, I'll probably play him at shooting guard. Bruce Brown's ownership on FanDuel, I feel like might go through the roof if all these guys are out. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's 4K. I think he'll see some. I think he'll see some ownership. I feel like RJ Barrett is like right in the. He's just like quickly. He's not scored enough fantasy points consistently, but against this Indiana team at 6,700, I think he's right there. It feels like I know we're talking FanDuel, but I think on DraftKings, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s ownership was projected to be something astronomical. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was really high.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Austin Reeves. I'm okay with Anthony Edwards, but like they're not at the top of my list. I'm kind of going to just kind of hover in this mid range and a little bit on the cheap end today with the shooting guard position. I feel like it's not as strong as it should be today on FanDuel.
All right, Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, kind of whoever you're not playing point guard, like you have Quickly, Murray, AJ Mitchell, we talked about DiVincenzo and Nembhard, all shooting guards. So you can just kind of pivot whoever you want over here. I think Reeves is a really strong play. 8,500. The minutes are pretty full. He's shooting small forward, which makes it pretty easy to get him into lineups as well on FanDuel. So I'm pretty into him, even at what should be pretty significant ownership. Fading him and playing Luka is a pretty good tournament play as well, I think. I don't know if I want to play them together, especially with Reeves being pretty chalky over here. Other than that, I think Hardaway is okay, just because he's likely to start this game for Denver, but he is Tim Hardaway Jr., so like he can get you 8 fantasy points at 40% ownership and ruin you. But and I think I like him better. I think I like him a little more if Jokic is in. I just feel like Jokic is the guy that's going to find Tim Hardaway Jr. wide open, and I don't know if that happens as frequently without Jokic in there. So
yeah, Jamal Murray's not going to be hunting Tim Hardaway Jr. assists. I promise.
Exactly. So I think it's okay either way, just because he's cheap and guard forward and should have minutes. But again, like there's a super low floor there, and I think Knipple. It's a really bad spot for Charlotte in general, but Knipple with guard forward, with the role he's playing, the minutes he's playing, if they keep it close, I think he can pay that off as well.
All right, take us small forward.
So we have Reeves, we have RJ Barrett. On FanDuel, you can play Scotty Barnes at small forward, which I think is pretty interesting. He is very good. He's been hunting triple doubles every night. He's racking up stocks. They're playing this Indiana team that is very low on NBA caliber players at this point. So the Raptors are kind of like, you're getting a lot of Raptors if you're just running straight optimals on FanDuel, but Barnes is kind of the one you're really getting to. And if that results in lower ownership, then I love it. I think he's an awesome play in any format. 8,700, I think, is just too cheap for him. So I'm very into that. Edwards, to a lesser extent, I think he's better on DK where he's under 9K. Bruce Brown, you can play here. He's small forward only, I think, on FanDuel, which is kind of limiting. Don't know if he's going to start amid these injuries, but he's historically decent per minute. He should have a role in any scenario. So I think he's cheap enough to play. I'm just a little concerned if he's not starting and he's super chalk, then it's a bit shakier. But I think it's fine on the slate with sketchy value.
Chief, how about you? Who do you like at small forward?
I'm still kind of in this RJ Barrett camp just because of the price, but Scotty's definitely, man, a guy that we need to be considering. That 8,700 has tremendous upside. Probably for sure has upside for 50 in this spot if they can hang on to grab the bull by the horns and actually stick in this game. Indiana, that is. But I like Scotty 8,700. Kyle Kuzma obviously went slap off in a huge overtime game, but My assumption is his minutes might be back to reasonable limits today. But at 5,500, I think I consider him in this spot also. Even though I can give him at power forward, I think I like him at small forward also at 5,500. But yeah, those are some of my main guys. Everybody else will be just guys I may have played at shooting guard also.
All right, take us to power forward.
All right, power forward is where it gets interesting because what do you want to do with a guy like Aaron Gordon? Taylor, we need to see if Jokic is playing. But even if Jokic is in, I think Aaron Gordon's fine at 5,600 for what it's worth on FanDuel. So he's a guy that I think, you play regardless. If you want to get to Giannis, perfectly fine. I don't know if Peyton Watson's going to come into play if Giannis is in or out. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm not thrilled about it. But Aaron Gordon, I feel like Aaron Gordon's going to play regardless. And then if Jokic is out, his ownership's going all the way up. But if even if Jokic is in, I keep saying Giannis Jokic, I feel like I'm in the camp of I want to play Aaron Gordon more if Jokic is in because I think his ownership will kind of stand pat. Where if Jokic is out, it's going to drastically increase.
Makes sense. I think FanDuel's a little bit easier just because Gordon and Jamal Murray are so underpriced that you can just kind of walk them in even if Jokic ends up in there. But Taylor, what are you doing here at power forward?
Yeah, I agree. Like Gordon 5'6" is too cheap. Even in like a suboptimal matchup, doesn't really matter. It's not the greatest position rather, power forward. So I don't mind playing that either way. Obviously, he would look better without Jokic, but it's not a huge difference, I think. Question, I guess, is what you do with the other spot. Like you can play Scotty, you can play Ingram here also. Don't mind Siakam. The issue is he's 9K. It's a revenge game for Siakam. He's got all the usage if the game stays close. So in a tournament, I think he's a fine play. Just not my favorite spend salary on the slate with all these other superstars. So kind of shaky. I'm okay with it. Chet is kind of the guy who's super unknown here. Tough spot for mints expectation. Like if the game blows out, Chet's going to see 25 and probably get there for you. But on a small slate, I think that's the kind of thing you can do in a tournament, roll the dice on that. And then Naz Reid always in play off the bench as a kind of cheaper play.
All right, let's go over to the center position where this is where it's tough because you have Jokic all the way up at 12.7. That is a tough price tag to get to on FanDuel. But the guy that we're really going to want if he happens to be out is the $4,100 Jonas Valanciunas. So how are you planning on handling this one, Taylor?
And it's extra tough because I think if Jokic is in and you don't pay for him, I think paying down for like Pirtle is pretty appealing. But Pirtle's in the first 2-game window. So, 600, the minutes have been coming up for him. It's a really good spot against that Indiana team with no centers left. So I think Pirtle is good either way. And if people are going to wait on the Jokic news, maybe Pirtle comes in a little bit lighter owned. So I'm fine with that in any scenario. But yeah, like if Jokic is out, you play Jonas and you don't overthink it. So I'd be inclined to leave the spot open if I'm playing just one lineup and just hope that you can kind of play Jonas there instead.
Chief, how about you? How are you handling center?
Yeah, man, Toaster Pirtle is almost in play regardless. Like I'm at 5,600. Even if Jokic plays, there's a path to play him and Luka and be perfectly fine, and then just play Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray still. Like you guys get what I'm saying? Like I think he's in play regardless. In some alternate lineups, if Jokic is in, if Jokic is out, I think he's in play. Obviously, though,
I think he's
still think
more in
Jones.
play if Jokic is in than if he's out.
Yeah.
Because if he's
Yeah,
out, I
correct,
feel like that.
correct.
Yeah, JV's is just like a smash.
Right. If he's out, JV at 4,100, like just plug it. I feel like it's one of those spots because I know sometimes maybe you guys feel like we aren't clear, or maybe I'm trying to make sure I'm clear enough. If Jokic is out, I feel like it's JV lock button on FanDuel, and I'm just moving on. And if JV like flames out, I live with whatever results come with that. But if Jokic is in, I think Pirtle is a really good play.
Gets extra confusing because JV was the big Raptors guy before, 2 guys before Pirtle too, and they're pretty similar players, except Jokic has got a little more touch inside. Pirtle's got a little better defensively, but I'm with you 100%. Exact same page for me. I so badly wish that Toronto Indy game was just at 8 as well, so that you could just plug in JV and then, oh, he's out. Okay, I can play Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I can play Tony Bradley, not have to change anything else in my lineup and just have those guys available. But alas, we do not have that news yet. We are about 30 minutes left to lock. Let's switch over to DraftKings, where you guys will be able to get the peek behind the curtain a little bit if you're watching us and watching the screen, because this is where I'm playing. And so my exposures and the projections I have adjusted and things like that, they're all up on the board. But Chief, I'll keep it with you. Who do you like at point guard over on DraftKings today?
So easily enough on DraftKings, there are some pricing discrepancies. So as an example, Luka's a little bit cheaper on DraftKings. So he's a guy that I think you can get to. Bruce Brown's a little bit cheaper. So those 2 guys. Ryan Rollins is a little bit cheaper if you decide you want to get him into your lineup. Rollins might actually be that like a cash game play on DraftKings. I know we're kind of just talking position by position, but at 6,300, I think he's a guy that I am pretty interested in.
Rollins has got to be like the biggest pleasant surprise of the season so far, right? Like he was fine as a fill-in last year. He was pretty good, but he's just been legit their second best player pretty much all year.
Yeah, Damian, all that Damian Lillard wisdoms where it has come into his life. But yeah, I think Ryan Rollins is a favorite play of mine at a pretty good discount on DraftKings today versus FanDuel price.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Who do you like on DK point guard? Who is this where you're playing Bruce Brown in cash, or are you playing another point guard and moving him to shooting guard?
I think I'd play him at shooting guard, just generally a weaker position. There's no right or wrong answer, but I think I would lean shooting guard there. Like you can play Reeves here if you want. He's a better play on field with the forward eligibility, but I'm okay with him over here as well. I like the Rollins call a lot. He's a little too cheap on DK.
I think that is what I do. Sorry to cut you off. I think that is what I do in DK cash is go Reeves point guard and Bruce Brown shooting guard. And then with that, if Jokic is out, I can just swap Reeves right to Murray.
Yeah, so that's very easy. Good call for sure. Yeah, like Will said, Luke is cheaper over here. It's a lot easier to get to him quickly. Murray, Nemhard, SGA, all this stuff looks good. I'm getting a lot of Jamal Shed, more than I want to end up with, but I do think he's a pretty good punt in a tournament. But yeah, no real difference over here other than Reeves having point guard.
All right, take us to shooting guard.
So you have your pick between Brown and Hardaway among cheap nuts to play here. Hardaway you can play at small forward, which is helpful. I do think Hardaway is the better play, assuming he's starting and Bruce Brown is not. If both are starting, I think Brown would be the slightly better play, just as the better permanent guy. So I'm getting a lot of both right now. Doesn't feel amazing, but I do like it, like I said earlier, better than the Indiana cheap stuff that's also kind of popping. Mentioned Anthony Edwards being too cheap over here, 8,800. Just seems like an underpay for him, even against Denver. On Knipple, I think Isaiah Joe is just a tournament play. Maybe if the game blows out and he gets blowout run for OKC. And then Reeves. So probably a value spot with the exception of Edwards and Reeves.
I don't hate a tournament stack of AJ Mitchell, Isaiah Joe, and Musa Diabate. Just 3 bench guys that if this game gets out of control might pick up a few more minutes in that fourth quarter. Chief, who are you liking at shooting guard today?
Definitely. Once again, DraftKings a little bit cheaper than FanDuel. Like for a guy like Anthony Edwards,
Nikola Jokic is on track to play.
Yes, this is awesome. This
Although
is awesome.
I kind of wanted the Jonas thing, to be honest.
I wanted the news before lock, but I wanted it to be out. That's kind of what I was hoping for.
Listen,
yeah,
I didn't obviously getting JV to like unlock our lineups tonight was good, but guys, I'm thankful anytime I get some type of a confirmation for real news in the NBA, because they could have easily given us this thing at 7:59 Eastern time. So I'll take it. But going back to FanDuel temporarily, TJ, I do still like all those guys we talked about. Jamal Murray, Aaron. I'm way more interested in Aaron Gordon now than I was prior to the Jokic news on FanDuel. Just wanted to put that out there. Back to shooting guard. Anthony Edwards at 8,800 on DraftKings. I think it's really good. I'm still okay with Trey Mann. Even on DraftKings, I think this is a spot that he could do something special. I know we didn't really talk much about Knipple. He's getting nice minutes right now. I'm okay with it. Expect him to lose pretty badly, but he could still get there. True tournament play though would not touch him in cash at all. Those are some of our main guys.
How did I end up with more Tim Hardaway Jr. by trying to get less Denver? But now I got Tim Hardaway Jr. apparently is going to be in 75% of my lineups. Don't know how I feel about that. They're trying to give me 35% TJ McConnell. We might have some adjustments to make here.
TJ, do not accept 75% Tim Hardaway. And just as those words leaving my mouth, he's going to drop 35 fantasy points today, and you're going to hate me for cutting your ownership down.
I think the answer, and everybody getting a real big peek behind the curtain here, is a few less of these very expensive guys, get a more balanced build, cut down on my Giannis a little bit. I don't think I need to try and get up to 30% Jokic. We can maybe bump that down just a touch. There we go. See what this gives us here in our next run. Oh, that's just the center position. 70% Tim Hardaway, 55%.
You shaved off 5%.
Gave me 40% Tony Bradley, though. I don't think I could do that.
That's even worse, I think.
Yeah. Did I make the rule that I only want one of Robinson Earl and Tony Bradley? Yeah, I did. Sheesh.
That's what I did as well.
We're going to have to figure this out. But where are we? I think Taylor for small forward, Taylor for shooting guard?
Small forward, I believe.
Yep,
so we mentioned Hardaway. Looks like he's going to be chalk, especially now without Jonas. So that's fun. It's really not a good position at all over here. Like, you can't play Reeves, so you're stuck with like Siakam has small forward, it looks like, which is new.
Who's even
Jarris
worse
Walker we just got.
FanDuel.
Yeah, he's 9,700 over here.
Yeah,
Jarris Walker's starting instead of Ben Shepherd, which I think makes him a little bit more interesting, just at a weak position. Indiana's just kind of a mess. So, I mean, he has ceiling. It's been elusive, but decent spot, decent spread in this game. So, like, they're expecting it to be relatively competitive. I don't mind him. Like Kuzma, assuming he starts again, I think is fine. Don't feel good about it. Knipple, Grady Dick is getting into lineups. I would much rather play Shed if I'm playing a Raptor bench guy. Jaden McDaniels is sort of by default positional scarcity, but it's grim. I think I would just play Hardaway, to be honest, even though it feels really horrible into chalk.
Chief, how about you? Who do you like small forward?
I'm pretty much on the same board. I think I like Kyle Kuzma a bit more than everybody else today.
I like
Let's
Kuz too.
Yeah, it's a slate. It's just I think he's got a path. And agree with Jay McDaniels as well. That's it. I don't have anything else to add. Everything Taylor said, I agree with for sure.
All right, let's do power forward.
Yeah, so you were talking about Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Boy, was he being forced in the lineups. I tried my hardest to get him out of most of these lineups, but I'm going to have to keep him in some and watch him score 12 fantasy points tonight. Julius Randle, much cheaper on DraftKings. What if I told you Julius Randle has been a really good fantasy point producer this season? Would you all believe me? Of course you would. I actually think Julius Randle is semi-sneaky on this slate, especially with them playing Denver. He's getting reasonable ownership, don't get me wrong, but he's been a really good fantasy player. So fantasy point producer, excuse me. So 8,200 for him tonight. I think it's a really good price, and I'm incredibly interested. As a result, maybe Scotty Barnes loses a little bit of ownership on this slate because Randall is $500 cheaper, and I think that's a mistake. We still need to be getting to Scotty Barnes, even on DraftKings. Definitely, I think Scotty's a better play than Siakam for the price for sure. I just think he is. So wanted to point that out at the power forward position.
Taylor, how about you? Who do you like better between Randall and Barnes today if you're only picking one? And then who do you like at the power forward spot?
That is a pretty impossible question. I think because I prefer the Denver value to the Indiana value, I'd rather correlate it with Randall than Scotty. But I don't think there's a wrong answer there either. I think they're both awesome individual plays. I agree. Siakam is just kind of the leftover spend on this slate, which, in tournaments, it's not hard to get over the field on what should be super low ownership. So that's worth a shout. I think Giannis at the top, pretty easy to get to on DK if you do take some of these nasty dives, which I think people will do with Robinson Earl. I do not want Robinson Earl either. I'm going to get some just because of the nature of the slate. And he is starting. So we do have that. It's just very fragile chalk. I do prefer Robinson Earl to Tony Bradley if I'm picking one of these bad Indiana punts. But that's not a huge conviction play. I think Gordon and Reed are also fine over here.
All right, take us to center. And for what it's worth, I managed to get myself down to, I pulled it up in another screen so people could still see the position by position stuff. Managed to get myself down to 60% Hardaway, 45% Brown, 30% Bradley. Where's Robinson Earl? This is worrying me. I can't have 5% Bradley, 5% Robinson Earl, and 30% Bradley. I guess I basically switched it because I have 15% Robinson Earl and 30% Bradley. So I kind of just switched those two projected ownerships with my ownership. I guess I'm okay with that. But who do you like at center?
Yeah, it's Pirtle now that we do have the Jokic, or possibly, he's leaning toward playing, it sounds like. So I'm more comfortable locking up an early spot with Pirtle. I mean, on DK, it's easier because you can play two of them anyway. So very strong play. He's also 56 over here. Kalkbrenner's back, so Diabate is just kind of a leftover now. Colin Murray-Boyles is back, which eats into Sandro off the bench. I kind of liked him earlier. I do think if Tony Bradley is going to be owned, which it seems like he will be at least a little bit, that you can still play Jonas as a pivot. Jonas in 15 minutes can easily outscore 25 minutes of Tony Bradley, I think. So I would still have Jonas in the pool. Obviously, I'm not playing him with Jokic, but just given the lack of value, I do think Jonas is viable. And then Gobert just kind of by default. It's really not a good center slate beyond Jokic. So I don't mind Gobert as a mid-range option either.
Oh, whoops! I accidentally went to the wrong tab here. Let me adjust things for a sec. There we go. Now we're at the right spot. Will, how about you? Who are you prioritizing at center?
Man, Toaster Pirtle is going to break our hearts tonight, but I think it's I think he's at the top of the list at 5,600. Production is steadily on the rise. Minutes stabilizing. Looks like he's, going to be anywhere between 27 to 30 minutes. I think it's a good spot for him. I'm really expecting him to play pretty well tonight. So he's going to be the person I focused on the most. And if everybody else wants to play Tony Bradley and Jeremiah Robinson Earl, great. I'll gladly let them play him and pay for a lot of our rate tonight.
And don't say that, because I don't want to play him, and I still got him in my lineups in 20 of them. But I guess when you look at it, I still have 15 of my 20 lineups without him. So we're feeling
So
pretty
let me
good.
say this. Obviously we're looking at projections, but we're still in a little bit of the prediction business, because when we're trying to do that, like as a player, as a DFS player, we're trying to, get some leverage wherever we can, or see some opportunities wherever we can. And I feel like over the years I've done the best job at DFS when I've decided to just completely fade guys like Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Tony Bradley, who are just bad DFS players, and everybody plays them, and I just get them out of my pool. Now, once again, I know this slate is small, but I think you guys know what I mean. Like, we've made a ton of money fading guys like this, and that's why I'm so anti these two players tonight. I think we can get it done without them, and maybe they blow the slate up, but I'm almost feeling like a full fade of those guys. Like, I'm so close to hitting the X button right now. You have no idea.
I'd be more willing to do that on Robinson Earl personally than Bradley, just because Robinson Earl's got that history of being a low point per minute producer. Bradley's actually been a good fantasy producer when he gets the minutes. We just don't really know if he's going to get those minutes. So more willing to go to him, I think, than I am Robinson Earl today. But let's start getting some of these questions in. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Going to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, make sure you are hitting that like button. Taylor, FanDuel GPP, single bullet, favorite spend up or spend ups, and then a favorite low owned value.
That was FanDuel.
Yeah.
I think Jokic now, like with the Q tag and with the way the slate shakes out with hard to find value, I know it takes sacrifices, but I would still try to get Jokic, even at a wildly expensive salary. Low owned value on FanDuel. I guess it would be Isaiah Joe, I think, off the OKC bench. Maybe the game blows out. He's a good per minute guy anyway with a role regardless. So I don't mind taking shots on that.
Any love for Jakob Poeltl? Yes, we've talked about how much we love Poeltl today. Will, how do you feel about Jake LaRavia as a low-owned option?
I'm not thrilled about it. I mean, what's our projection on his minutes? Somewhere in the mid 20s, low 20s. Like, let me
29.
29. I mean, I guess I'm more interested at that rate, but
viable but not exciting.
Yeah. Great choice of words.
Yeah, like you can do it, but definitely not something we're overly excited about. Taylor, what do you think about Tony Bradley as a pivot off of JRE on FanDuel?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good move. JRE is center only on FanDuel, so I really don't love that to begin with. But if he is the chalkier one, then yeah, Bradley's a good play.
Who's just hanging banners?
Can I say this?
Yeah.
I would definitely be playing Kuzma over LaRavia. Sorry, find the $200 and get the Kuzma. Those are my real thoughts. Now that I've reflected for a few seconds.
Agreed with that one. Who's just saying banners pointing out that Kalkbrenner is too cheap on Yahoo. Michael Newcam wanting to know, Taylor, what do you think about Brandon Ingram today? You getting any of him?
I'm not getting a ton. Just the way the Raptors shake out, like with those 4 guys getting all the usage, it's kind of a tough situation to peg. So if
They're
he is the
all going to
one,
5x. None of them are going to
yeah,
do better. None of them are going to do worse. They're all going to 5x.
the one who has shown ceiling is Scotty. We haven't really seen it from Ingram yet, or Barrett to an extent. So I'm okay with Ingram if you land there, but he's not a guy that I have a lot of so far tonight.
They're proving Dean wrong early in the year. I told Dean the Raptors would actually be decent and are going to be a low end playoff team, and he wasn't buying it. But I do kind of, it is funny watching these guys and just like, if no one's hurt, quickly Barrett, Barnes, and Ingram will all have basically the same stats every night, but Scotty has the higher ceiling because of his defensive stat ability. And so he's not going to really do much different than he usually does from an offensive perspective, but sometimes he'll get 5 steals.
14 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, like every game.
They're all just like, it's a pretty good team. Like, I actually like this Toronto team. The bench is pretty weak, but that starting 5, I'm not going to lie, I don't mind it. They're all still pretty young, too, outside of Ingram, who is still in his 20s. Alex Adon says there are a lot of guards to target on this slate. In a DK cash setting, who are you most comfortable fading of the bunch? Edwards, Luka, Reeves, Hardaway, SGA, Rollins, Quickly. SGA is not a guy that you're playing in cash today, but looking at that other group, Taylor, Quickly, Rollins, Edwards, Luka, Reeves, Hardaway, who are the guys you are prioritizing in DK cash?
I mean, Hardaway or Brown, whoever, has to be a priority, I think, just because Denver is thin. So those are the guys that I would be looking to get. Hardaway's shooting guard anyway, I think. But Luka's not a priority. None of them are like priorities. I think they're all like totally fine. I think Reeves would be the one I'd be most inclined to play in cash just because he's like in the mid-range. The minutes have been stable. He's shown some upside even with Luka in there. And given the lack of value, it is harder to get to Luka. So if anyone besides the cheap Denver stuff is someone I would build around in cash, it'd probably be Reeves.
Yeah, with the lack of value we have on only a 4-game slate, I kind of feel like I might go a route where like the Edwards, Reeves, Randall might be the most expensive players I actually get to. Like, I don't know if there's actually, it's kind of scary, but I almost feel like in DK cash, you're basically saying, I don't need Luka, Jokic, or Giannis. It's scary, but I kind of think that might be the way to go.
I have more Edwards than any of them right now by a decent amount, just kind of the way it builds. But yeah, like I'm still getting to those guys in GPPs, but I think Edwards, just with the salary on DK, is the easiest one to get to.
Our optimal lineup right now has Giannis and Jonas Valanciunas in it still.
Yeah, like I said, I think Jonas is still playable. Just you hope in his 15 minutes he really delivers, which is not a lock, but he is so good per minute that it's possible.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I had taken him out of my pool, but I think I should probably get him back in there. Alex the Don wondering, would you fade both Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Tony Bradley in DK cash?
I would probably just play Robinson Earl just because people are going to play him and it's cash. So you're not as concerned about, the floor with him necessarily, especially into ownership. So I would just play him. I don't care about Bradley. I don't think you have to have him.
Chief, what are your thoughts on playing Jonas Valanciunas paired with Jakob Poeltl, both at center in a DK single entry GPP?
I think what you're doing is you're hoping that, once again, like we just talked about, JV has one of those higher upside fantasy point per minute performances, or there's a blowout of sorts which gives him the extra run to get him there. Straight up, I'm not okay with it, but like on the back end of a mass multi-entry build, I am okay with it.
Someone we haven't talked a lot about, I'm getting a ton of Naz Reid. I'm getting a lot of Naz Reid in this spot, and I don't think I want to because I don't feel like this is a great matchup for him. Like, Gobert's going to have to play as much as he possibly can with Jokic on the court. They have Randall and Jaden McDaniels, and so it's basically just going to be those three splitting the same minutes. I don't think I actually want as much Naz Reid as I'm getting to in this spot. But with only 9 minutes to go until lock, we don't have a whole lot of time to adjust. I did just add Jonas Valanciunas to my pool, and I'm going to update one quick CSV, and then that is going to be the final set of lineups that I am, in fact, running today. Taylor, On FanDuel, what do you think about fading the big three and going with SGA as your spend today?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of SGA. I just think that game is pretty unlikely to stay close, but he's going to be low owned. So if you're talking about a tournament, that's certainly viable.
Don't hate the idea of fading the big three, but if I'm doing it, I think I'd prefer to do it with a more balanced approach. Thoughts on Laravia at 5,300 on FanDuel? We talked about him a bit. We think he is viable, but not somebody that we really want to get to. Prefer Kyle Kuzma in that range quite a bit more. QQ, I have 8,600 remaining for my guard and forward for my DK2 max GPP. If I go if either Giannis or Luka, I'm left with 5,400 left for either spot. What are some good names for 5,400 left or less on DraftKings? My friend, that is Kyle Kuzma.
Yes,
That's
it
the guy
is.
we're wanting to go with today. Will and I both pretty high on him. If for some reason you can't quite afford Kuzma, the guy that you like in his place, I think would be Naz Reid. Taylor, do you think there's a chance Vanderbilt could start tonight and be placed on Giannis? We are projecting him to start.
Yeah. So without Smart, there's definitely a chance of that. I don't know if he's a good play because he's defending Giannis and he's low usage, but that is a cheap guy who's not going to be getting any ownership. So I think he's viable.
Will, what do you think about Isaiah Joe in GPPs today?
I mean, strictly GPP for sure. I mean, he's fine. I guess you're anticipating extra minutes on the blowout.
Power saying yes, that like the OKC spread has gone 2 points in their favor since this morning. I assume that would happen when LaMelo Ball got ruled out. I assume that LaMelo Ball getting ruled out kind of solidified that spread change. That'll do it for YouTube questions. Let me go back to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord. DKGPP, is Dawson Connect okay as a last piece if I'm jamming in both Luka and Joker, Taylor?
I think that's pretty thin unless he happens to start. He's 3,900. If it's a util spot or something, I would just play Shed instead.
Yeah, play Shed instead. And I mean, assuming you already have Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. in your lineup, go Shed instead. But then even like, I think I'd rather AJ Green. I think I'd rather Zion Williams. There's other guys in that range I think you can punt with instead that will get you a little bit better than Connect, like Taylor said, unless he happens to be in that starting lineup. Another Laravia question, is he viable? Yes, he's viable, but he is not exciting. FanDuel GPP, who would be your favorite spend out to pair with Nikola Jokic? They're already playing Joker.
Favorite spend up to play with? Are they? I guess my question is, are they asking like studs or are they saying maybe in the 8K range?
I guess that'd be your preference. Like, where would you be looking to go next in a lineup you're playing Jokic? Would you be looking to go extreme stars and scrubs, or would you be maybe looking to pair him with an Edwards or a Randall as a run back?
I think it's Scotty Barnes. I think that's where I'm going next.
Taylor, Randall and Murray, or Giannis and Wallace? Who's the Wallace?
Does he mean Jarris Walker?
That's what I was maybe thinking. Walker. Oh, Kason Wallace is on the bench. I forgot about Kason Wallace.
Yeah, the first one that doesn't have Kason Wallace, I think.
Do we have any Nug starters? No, we don't have any Nug starters. We're probably not going to be getting that for at least 30 minutes still. So make sure you're staying tuned on Twitter for that one. Can you touch on AJ Mitchell? I am getting some AJ Mitchell today. I think he picks up more run in a blowout, especially because he's a rookie. And so I actually am a pretty big fan of AJ Mitchell today in a game that has an 18-point spread. Chief, you want Jarris Walker or Jaden McDaniels?
McDaniels.
DK single entry, Taylor. Oh, that's a weird question. Robinson, Earl, Kuzma, or Jarris Walker?
I think Walker maybe, but Kuzma you guys like also. I think he's perfectly fine.
Nothing wrong with Walker or Kuzma. I definitely don't think you want to go JRE leaving salary on the table there. That's a big no-no on this slate, I think. We got one more person typing in Discord. Make sure you are smashing that like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Stay tuned for that Denver starting lineup. Dante or Sexton or Mitchell for a FanDuel GPP. So, Will, Dante DiVincenzo, Colin Sexton, or I feel like we were just talking about the Mitchell, and now I already forget which one it is. But
AJ.
Okay, thank you. Which one of those guys do you like on FanDuel? AJ Mitchell.
I'm
gonna rule out Sexton for you, anyways. So Dante or Mitchell.
In this particular case, Dante's going to probably get more minutes. Just give me Dante.
I apologize to Layla. I messed up her question. I thought she was asking me to answer it. I thought you wanted me to answer it quickly, but you were asking about Emmanuel quickly. That's my bad. So quickly and JRE or Kuzma and Walker, Taylor.
Kuzma and Walker, I think.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. Kuzma and Walker side, absolutely. Apologies for that, Layla. My brain betrayed me on that one a little bit. That'll do it for all of our questions. Will, who's breaking the slate tonight?
I think I'm going to go with my gut play. Let's go TJ McConnell.
Taylor, how about you? Who you got as today's slate breaker?
I will say Scotty Barnes.
I'm going to go with Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl is going to be playing is going to be breaking the slate today. Last question, Taylor. You want McDaniels or Jarris Walker?
I think I would lean Walker now that he's starting, but very close.
Would you pair Jokic with Randall? Absolutely. Love that pairing today, Beaner. I think that is a really, really great combo. Very high on Julius Randall. He is going to be, if you qualify him as a spend up, he's going to be my highest owned spend up on the slate today. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. We will be back tomorrow bright and early for the NFL, 9:30 Eastern time, 6:30 Pacific. You'll have Dean, you'll have Bobby and Tim, followed by the GPP Final Take show with Eric and Neil and Jordan, and then myself, Will, and Kyle will take you all the way right up to lock with NFL Crunch Time. No NBA show tomorrow, but Will and I will be back in the evening for some Sunday Night Football pre-lock. Derek Green, is JV unplayable? No. With the lack of value we have on today's slate, he is still playable since he is a very solid point per minute producer. That'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. On behalf of myself, Taylor, and Will, we will see you next time. Peace.